Like so many other moms, when I first started to look into homeschooling, I was completely overwhelmed. The thought of having to like plan all this out and make sure we have all the curriculums and all that kind of stuff, I almost went strictly to a like box curriculum where I was just like, one purchase, send me everything I need, and let's just go there. But the more I was like researching and understanding, how my kid, I think I want to make him be able to do school, I decided that I wasn't going to do that. But because we live in Maryland, we do have to do a specific portfolio review for a large variety of subjects. Because of that, which I talked about in my curriculum video last week, which I will link, it definitely was something where I was just like really overwhelmed by the thought of doing unit studies. However, we've planned out the whole year, and I want to help anybody else who comes across this video in figuring out how to homeschool and make it super simple. My kids are 5.5 and 3.5, and we aren't specifically doing homeschool for the preschool, but I'm going to be incorporating her into all of this because she wants to be just like her brother. And this free printable is linked down below. If you want to grab this, you can. So I started out really unsure. I do love the idea of year-round homeschooling, and after listening to a lot of people who talked about how they homeschool year-round and started in July, I was like, yes, that's what we should do. But I was not ready at all, so we have started in August. So my homeschool year-to-glance calendar, I have July office planning because I was like, I'm not ready at all to do this. But I think next year, as long as we keep doing this, we will be starting homeschool in July. In Maryland, it is just so hot and humid and gross that it's like, it's not fun to be outside unless we're at the pool. And if we start homeschooling in July, we still will have plenty of time to go to the pool. So it's definitely something that I'm sure will probably happen. So my plan right now is to homeschool from August to May, and then we'll take the month of June completely off. And there definitely is going to be some more breaks and things in there. But before I get like real nitty gritty in here, I just want to say hi. If you're new here, my name is Amy and this is Modern and Marie. I am sharing my homeschooling journey as a single mom. I have a kindergartner and preschool who is just kind of along for the ride. If you have any interest in homeschooling videos, please give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and let's just jump in. All right, so I've started out with this year calendar just for like at a glance. I can always look at it and kind of know what's coming, how many weeks, etc. Then I went ahead and printed out all of these calendars from iCalendars.net. They're free printables, and I did 2 months per page and have it in there. And then I went through and added in all the holidays, if any were missing, birthdays, random days like, National French Fry Day and Coloring Book Day, because I thought like, hey, let's just throw that in there to make, everyday fun. So I did a huge brain dump of like all the things that I wanted to kind of cover. Things like space and the water cycle and bugs and whatever. So I went ahead and I just kind of jotted all that down, and then I looked at my calendar and tried to like piece it together. There are some things that I definitely wanted to incorporate that I don't necessarily know that there's like a specific curriculum, and I knew doing it this way would be less overwhelming for me in the long term. It feels, I think, overwhelming to some people because you're just like, oh my gosh, I have to plan all the year. No, I'm not planning out what I'm doing in March. I just know like the topic. And this helps me for a few reasons. One, if there's a sale or something going on, not necessarily on curriculum, but like books or supplies or things like that, I'm not gonna impulse purchase something that we're not necessarily gonna use. And it's also gonna give me like a general overview of like what's to come next, because I like to be planned out in advance because of the unpredictability of our schedule with co-parenting and everything, and just life happens. I like to know how things are going, but I want to make it clear that this is especially our first year doing anything this structured. So I'm giving us like tons of grace and tons of leeway. So I broke it down per month just because it's going to make life easier for me. And then each month I'm breaking it down even further between the weeks. And then that way for my kids, like, they like to know what's coming and what we're learning and all that kind of stuff. And then I can be preparing the activities in the books and all the things the month before to get ready for that without necessarily having to do everything. So I had everything like brain dumped out, and then I decided like I wanted it to have a flow. I didn't want to necessarily be talking about like animals and birds and bugs and like just a big overview of animals for like 6 months. I wanted it to be able that I could have things flow that made sense. So we're starting with astronomy, and we're going to be talking about space, obviously like galaxies and all the fun stuff with stars and the moon and the sun and the planets and astronauts and all that kind of stuff. And then we're going to move into talking about Earth, but I didn't want a whole month talking about Earth and like rocks and things. I know it can be done. I just don't know that my kids have that much interest in it. Now, if they are super interested in rocks, we can always expand things, change things, wait a week, skip a week, do whatever. But I want to talk more about like geology and geography. And then in September, when we're talking about Earth and everything, it's going to easily get us into October, which is when we're really going to talk about seasons. Fall is my favorite season. I love Halloween. I love pumpkins. I love the leaves changing. So I really wanted to do seasons and focus on that then. And we're also going to include a lot of fun Halloween stuff, but mainly in October, it's going to be talking about seasons and weather. And then once we've gone from like seasons and weather, we're easily going to get into talking about Native Americans and Thanksgiving, but I don't want to just do the, Pilgrim story because we know it's not true. And so we're definitely going to talk about being thankful for like harvest season and learning about Native Americans. There's some awesome things I know that you can look up about the people that were here. We're close to DC, so we're hopefully going to go to the Native American Museum. We're talking a lot about families and culture and like what makes up a family and how people are different. My kids are biracial, so learning about other cultures and like making diversity just be a normal part of conversation is definitely something that we want to keep going throughout and not just be like a specific like one-off that we talk about at Thanksgiving week. So that's what that's going to focus on. And then in December, my plan is to take a good bit of time off. So I'm going to have stuff for like Christmas that we're going to do, and like New Year's Eve we'll do fun stuff for that. But my kids have asked questions about Hanukkah, and I also am going to teach them a little bit about Kwanzaa. Just kind of ties into like how people are different and having different cultures and holidays and traditions. So we're going to talk about that in December. We're going to take a break towards the end. My son's birthday is in January, so we're gonna probably come back after that. And then my plan is to do the water cycle and do like a little focus on snow. Typically, it usually snows at some point in January, and my kids love the snow and to make snowmans and stuff, so I'm hoping we can do something really fun if the weather cooperates. And then in February, because it's Valentine's, but I don't want a whole month long of Valentine's. We're going to talk about like love and kindness. So we're going to focus more on like the social skills and the friendships and all that kind of stuff, along with taking care of ourselves and not just like our physical bodies, but like our mental health. I think that's really important. And we're going to talk a little bit about community helpers then. So then in March, we are going to learn about the plant cycle and learn about flowers. Then in April, we are going to learn about bees and butterflies, and hopefully we're going to grow some caterpillars and turn them into butterflies. And then in May, my plan is kind of loose because I'm not 100% on this, but ocean life maybe. And then June, we'll be back to doing all the planning and prep work. So that is my overall homeschool at a glance. So then when it comes to breaking those down, I'm going to do a full video on that, but then I pull like the scope and sequence of other ones. I start Amazon wish list, I pull from Facebook groups, I've got Pinterest boards, all the things of like activities and whatnot, and how I'm going to incorporate it into those. And in the other breakdown video, I'll talk about this to explain like how I kind of like group it into it and make sure that we have like not just workbooks and maybe not just physical activities or not just different things. I want to have a good variety. I want my kids to learn at the best way that they can, but I also want them to experience learning in different styles. And I feel like especially at this age, they're so young, they don't know what they don't know. And that's my plan for this year. I thought maybe next year we would do the Around the World. I've seen people talk about doing an Around the World unit study, and that seems super fun. I also am leaving a lot of things like open-ended as to like, my daughter's really into flamingos. And so when we get to a unit where I can tie something else in, like, yeah, we can learn about flamingos and different things, or, whatever that is. But that is how I've planned this year. If you want to grab the printable and the calendar, you can grab it for free. There's a link down below in the description box. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you guys plan a full year like I do, and you have any tips for me, please let me know. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you next Monday.